Okay, so now I'm going to be doing tints and shades. A tint is a color plus white, and a shade is a color plus black. So down in this middle row, I want my hue, so that's going to be the plain color, and then I'm going to slowly add black and slowly add white to get my tints and my shades. So I'm going to begin with red. I'm going to take some red and fill in this little box here. Okay, and now I'm going to do my shade. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a glob of red over here, and then I don't have to worry about washing my brush to get more red. And then I'm going to wash my brush real nicely. And then I'm going to get a big dollop of white on this palette so I don't have to worry about going back for it so many times. Give myself a nice glob of white on there. Okay, alright, so now I'm going to take a little bit of my red and then a little bit of my white, and I'm going to mix that together to get my first tint. I'm going to fill that in. Okay. Next, I'm just going to add a little bit more white. I'm just using that same color I used before, just adding more white. And as I'm doing all of this, I would be adding it to my 100 color challenge so that you don't have to make as many. Since I already have this lovely pink right here, I can just throw that into one of my 100 colors. Just make my life a little easier. But anyways, next I'm going to do a shade. So I'm going to rinse my brush. I'm going to put some black on my mixing palette. Get myself a chunk. Alright, now I'm going to take a chunk of red and I'm going to mix it with some black. You don't need a ton of black because black is really dark, so it's going to change your color very quickly. Just going to grab a little bit of that. Alright, then I'm going to grab just a little bit more black, mix that in with my red. Got a pretty dark shade of red. Okay, pretty self-explanatory. I'm going to skip down, just for show and tell purposes, to my purple, because I've already got my purple mixed on my palette, so I'm just going to go ahead and use it up. I'm going to fill in my middle square purple. And then I'm going to take a little chunk of purple, put it over here, and I'm going to add some white. Again, I can be sticking all these colors on my 100 color challenge as I go. And then I'm just going to grab a little bit more white. And There's my tints, and then I can give my brush a little rinse. And now I can work on my shades. So my shades, I'm going to grab a chunk of purple, stick it over here, take a little bit of black, mix that together. Now purple is already pretty dark, so my shades are going to be really dark. I'm going to take just a little bit more black. Keep shoving my fingers in the paint. Mix that with my purple, and then fill in my last block. Alright, there's that. Alright, I'm going to do one more. And then you're following the same pattern for everything. So I'm going to do a green. I'm out of green. I got to make some more. So I'm going to grab some yellow from my palette with a clean brush. And then I'm going to mix some blue into it. And then I get a nice, beautiful green. I'm going to fill in my green section. Okay. Now I'm going to take some green, stick it off to the side. I'm going to grab some yellow, mix that guy up to make my first tint. Okay. I'm going to grab even more white, mix that into that same color, and then I've got an even lighter tint of this green. Alright, and then I'm going to rinse my brush. I'm going to repeat the same process with my shadows. So clean brush, take a chunk of green, I'll scooch it over here, and I'm going to mix a little bit of black. Remember, a little bit goes a long way, so I'm just picking up a tiny bit. And then I'm going to mix this in. And then I'm going to take just a little bit more black and mix that into that same color that I've already had. And then I've done my tints and shades for my red, my green, and my purple. Now you're just going to continue on in the same fashion, plain yellow, adding white, adding black, plain blue, adding white, adding black, and then you'll have to make an orange, and then add white, add black. Okay, so pretty self-explanatory.